Number 1. Burundi is the country with the lowest per capita income in the world. Looking at the map, Burundi is known as the Little Heart of Africa. This country has over 13.6 million people living on an area of approximately 27,000 square kilometers, roughly the size of Massachusetts. However, the average per capita income is only $278 per year, 400 times lower than Massachusetts. Furthermore, the unemployment rate in Burundi is as high as 7%. If only one person is the breadwinner in a family, they have to cover the expenses for a family of 6, which is less than $1 a day. The economy is heavily reliant on agriculture, with 80% of the population cultivating subsistence on small, narrow, terraced fields. According to the World Food Programme, harvests only feed one person for 55 days a year due to severe soil erosion. Approximately 70% of the country's population lives below the poverty line. More than half of children under 5 years old suffer from malnutrition, leading to permanent stunting. When food supplies dwindled, the starchy plantain bananas became the only source of sustenance, boiled or used to make porridge for children. Meanwhile, meat was a complete luxury. With beef costing $2.70 a kilogram, most families could only afford to eat meat once a year during the main harvest season. Nearly 800,000 households faced the prospect of eating only one meal a day. The struggle for clean water was immense, with people walking kilometers to fetch water from makeshift wells, increasing the risk of cholera and typhoid infections. The healthcare system lagged behind by half a century due to severe shortages of supplies. By 2024, only 7% of households had electricity because the national hydroelectric network was too old and internet usage was among the lowest in the world. Fuel scarcity forced people to wait all night at gas stations, often leaving empty-handed. Many gas stations have resorted to barbed wire to deter violence and implemented strict staggered refueling schedules. In rural areas, people have to light their homes with oil lamps or burn eucalyptus branches for fuel because there is absolutely no connection to the electricity grid. Number 2. The unique beauty secret of Burundi women. The allure of Burundi women stems directly from their naturalness. Their tanned, lustrous skin, deep eyes, and gentle smiles create a unique beauty. They don't need industrial cosmetics. Their beauty is sculpted by their labor. The women here maintain clever, primitive beauty practices. They use mineral-rich kaolin clay to cool their skin under the harsh sun. They also use wood ash to draw traditional patterns on their faces and crush wildflowers to create a natural red color for their lips. This pristine beauty is further enhanced by their distinctive clothing culture. Burundi women are always associated with pagne or kitenge fabrics, printed using sophisticated wax dyeing techniques. The vibrant patterns on their clothing are not only for adornment, but also serve as a record of the history of their harvests and family genealogies. Their hair is intricately braided and adorned with wooden beads or seashells collected from the freshwater lakes of Tanganyika. During wedding ceremonies, their dazzling appearance is how the community preserves and transmits its cultural heritage through generations. However, behind these colorful scenes lies a harsh reality of labor pressure. Women form the backbone of the economy, accounting for 80% of the agricultural workforce. In Burundi, where 90% of the population relies on farming, their daily schedules can last up to 14 hours. Early in the morning, they work in the fields, tending to corn and cassava crops. In the evenings, they continue with cooking, childcare, and walking 6 kilometers to fetch water. For comparison, women's total working time is always 4 hours longer than men's. Long-standing social prejudices further exacerbate their difficult lives. Child marriage remains prevalent, with 20% of girls marrying before the age of 18, completely cutting them off from access to secondary education. Inequality is most evident in property ownership, with only 1% of rural women legally owning land. Despite being the primary workforce, women are excluded from financial decisions and are ineligible for mortgages to secure bank loans. The burden of numerous family obligations while being deprived of essential economic rights creates a vicious cycle passed down from generation to generation. Number 3. What factors are keeping Burundi's economy at the bottom of the world rankings? Burundi's economy is completely landlocked. To get goods to the ocean, they are forced to rely on neighboring countries, which means significantly higher costs. The distance from the capital Bujumbura to the port of Dar es Salaam in Tanzania is over 1,000 kilometers and takes many days to travel by truck. This vast distance directly drives up logistics costs by 30 to 40% compared to other regions. This creates a huge barrier, making Burundi less attractive to international investors. The mountainous terrain, covering 80% of the country's land area, makes infrastructure construction a nightmare. As a result, most of the country's transportation remains unpaved and particularly muddy during the 6 months of the rainy season. Although it possesses nickel deposits that rank among the top 10 in the world, mining is virtually frozen due to the extremely weak national power grid. Burundi is also constantly battered by natural disasters. The World Bank notes that damage from natural disasters accounts for 2 to 3% of national income due to landslides and rising lake levels eroding coastal settlements. Geographical encirclement is further tightened by the persistent instability of regional security. The United States has long classified the region bordering Congo, Rwanda, and Burundi as a red alert. Most recently, in February 2025, conflict in Congo's South Kivu province caused 40,000 people to flee to Burundi as refugees. The burden of providing healthcare for this migration has depleted the country's already limited resources. Poverty also stems from the wounds of the civil war between the Hutu and Tutsi ethnic groups from 1993 to 2005. The conflict wiped out assets equivalent to 5 years of national income. The World Health Organization reports a plummeting life expectancy from 58 to 47 years. 300,000 lives were lost, creating a massive labor shortage as the elite sought to flee abroad. During this time, there was a tendency for families to increase in size. Population growth reached 3%, with an average of 5.1 children per woman. Compared to the US's growth rate of less than 0.5%, this pushed the welfare system to the brink of collapse and created 600,000 orphans who relied entirely on international aid. Nevertheless, hope is gradually emerging. Growth is now at 3% per year thanks to stable political policies and efforts to boost exports of 2 key agricultural products: tea and Arabica coffee. The journey out of poverty is still long, but at least they have found a new path forward. Number 4. The most dangerous race on the planet. If motorsports represent the pinnacle of adventure, Burundi redefines that concept entirely. Here, laborers must descend hillsides on rickety bicycles loaded with over 200 kilograms of bananas. There are no grandstands or specialized safety equipment. This recklessness is solely for the sake of earning enough money for dinner, as gasoline prices in this country frequently reach nearly $2 a liter, far exceeding the income of most people. The bicycle, reinforced with welded steel bars, becomes their most valuable asset. A 20-minute downhill ride earns them 14 cents. All the maneuvering to control the enormous load takes place without brakes. They use their bare feet to grip the road surface and slow down on slopes with inclines of up to 15%. Any slip of the wheel means losing the cargo or even their lives. The subsequent process of pushing the bicycle back up the hill severely damages their bodies. Young people here often suffer from spinal degeneration as early as their 20s. To conserve energy, many choose to cling to the backs of heavy trucks carrying goods towards the Rwandan border, relying on their pulling power to climb the slopes. Despite the risk of being dragged under the vehicle, hunger always triumphs over fear. Whenever they hear the siren of a patrolling police car, they immediately let go and hide in the coffee plantations along the roadside. This harsh survival situation illustrates the extremely high price paid for a full meal. Number 5. The first immortal king in the world. Burundi was once one of the oldest kingdoms in East Africa, with the Mwami monarchy led by the Ganwa royal family enduring for 4 centuries. The most prominent historical figure in the modern era was King Mwambutsa IV. He was crowned in 1915 at the age of 3 after the sudden death of his father, stemming from a violent altercation with a member of the royal family. At that time, the country was under German rule. After World War I, the territory was incorporated into the Rwanda-Urundi Mandate, administered by the Kingdom of Belgium. Under pressure from the West, the king was stripped of his political power and held only a symbolic role. However, he used his influence to mediate the conflict between the Hutu, who comprised 85% of the population, and the Tutsi minority, who held the elite. While neighboring Rwanda was engulfed in ethnic violence, the king's tact temporarily averted a devastating civil war for Burundi. After gaining independence in 1962, Burundi was immediately drawn into a power struggle. From 1963 to 1966, a series of purges weakened the monarchy. The culmination was the coup in 1966, initiated by Prince Charles Ndizai to depose his father. Although he ascended the throne and took the name Ntare V, he was overthrown by the army just 5 months later. The monarchy was officially abolished. King Mwambutsa IV fled to Geneva, Switzerland, where he died in 1977. In 2012, the government attempted to bring the king's remains back to his homeland, but Princess Rosa Paula Iribagiza vehemently opposed it, as her father had instructed her not to return to the land that had rejected him. This legal battle became so intense that it required the intervention of the Swiss Supreme Court, which ultimately ruled in favor of the king's wishes, allowing the remains to stay in Europe. Despite the fall of the dynasty, the royal legacy remains deeply rooted in the nation's spiritual life. The sacred drums of the royal court at Gitega were recognized by UNESCO as an intangible cultural heritage of humanity in 2014 and are strictly protected. Along with the ancient songs taught in schools, the image of the Mwambutsa IV era lives on as an indelible part of the nation's historical memory. Number 6. A country where there is no gap between rich and poor. Burundi often delivers a powerful psychological shock to tourists due to its extremely minimalist lifestyle. In rural areas, houses are mostly built in the traditional Rugo style, with walls woven from eucalyptus branches and plastered with red mud. These houses completely lack electricity, running water, or enclosed sanitary facilities. The stark contrast to Western standards leaves many stunned upon arrival. The surprises continue on the streets. Even in the largest economic center, Bujumbura, traffic lights are a luxury. Vehicles, from motorbikes carrying passengers to bicycles loaded with bananas, weave through traffic based on individual habits. Tourists often jokingly call this organized chaos because accidents are rare due to the average speed in the city always being below 40 kilometers per hour. The next cultural shock comes from the communal lifestyle. Locals are so closely connected that they blur individual boundaries. Neighbors can freely enter a house to ask for some firewood for cooking without prior notice. This communal lifestyle, where the whole village lives together, offers warmth, but sometimes surprises Westerners. In marriage, the concept of free dating is almost non-existent. Relationships are governed by the traditional Inkwano dowry custom, usually exchanged by the bride's family in the form of a number of bulls. Parents from both sides negotiate directly and determine their children's future. Widespread poverty means the country has virtually no wealth gap. You rarely see large supermarkets or luxury resorts. Yet the most wonderful thing radiates from the people themselves. With an average income of only about $280 a year, they always maintain radiant smiles and value community spirit more than any material possessions. Number 7. Gitega, the place where the soul of the nation is kept. Burundi is one of the few countries in the world that decided to operate 2 capitals simultaneously to divide administrative functions. Located on the shores of Lake Tanganyika, the world's second deep freshwater lake, Bujumbura continues to maintain its position as the economic powerhouse. Originally the administrative capital during the Belgian colonial period, it now boasts a crucial inland waterway port. This port is vital for the export trade of tea and coffee, providing a vital source of foreign exchange for the economy. Conversely, Gitega, situated in the Central Highlands, was chosen as the administrative capital in 2019 after the late President Pierre Nkurunziza signed a decree transferring the capital. This relocation aimed to alleviate population pressure on Bujumbura and stimulate the economy of the core region. Because Gitega is located at the center of the map, people from all provinces and cities can access government agencies more quickly and fairly. Gitega is also the cultural cradle of Burundi, boasting the National Museum housing ancient royal photographs and a priceless collection of traditional musical instruments. Major festivals are regularly held here to strengthen the community's spirit. This decentralized strategy demonstrates an extremely clear macro vision. Bujumbura is the money-making machine, while Gitega is the brain that manages and protects the heritage. This dual governance model helps Burundi avoid the risk of disproportionate urban sprawl and creates a solid foundation for entering the modern era. Number 8. Burundi marriage, a bond that connects the community. In many cultures, the journey to marriage is a financial climb. While people in Nigeria or India often fall into debt due to dowry payments, this custom in Burundi takes on a completely different meaning. Although the average income in this country is only around $280 per person per year, weddings are not commercialized. The marriage proposal isn't about money, it's a long process of rituals and community consensus. The centerpiece of this process is the gusaba, a formal proposal ceremony that can last for hours. The real challenge for the groom's family lies in the metaphorical exchanges. The representative of the groom's family, called an umuvugizi, is usually an elder knowledgeable in ancient proverbs. This person must use skillful language to persuade the bride's family. This is a rigorous test to prove the young man is mature enough to take on the responsibility of a family. The dowry list is also highly symbolic. The most important custom is the offering of livestock, called inkwano, and this animal must be a very strong ankole long-horned cattle. In addition, the groom's family brings bundles of Gitega cloth and jars of Uwagwa banana beer, which they have brewed themselves over several months. These gifts are a promise of family protection and a symbol of harmony. When the ceremony concludes, the wedding procession erupts. The sound of drums blends with the famous agasimbo acrobatic dance of the men and the graceful umwiereko steps of the women. The wedding usually lasts 2 to 4 days, even with extremely limited economic resources. People are willing to save for years to hold a complete event, because marriage in this land is a sacred bond connecting the entire community. Number 9. Raising cattle not for meat in Africa. In Burundian life, livestock are not simply animals, but have become the ultimate symbol of prestige and power. Over centuries, the indigenous community has forged a culture centered around the renowned Ankole longhorn cattle, originating from the Great Rift Valley. The size of the herd is the clearest measure of wealth. Families owning many cattle always have a decisive say, while those without livestock often struggle to find a place in society. Their economic value is immeasurable. Cow's milk, a core source of nutrition, is often fermented to create the traditional drink called kivuguto. Beef is rarely slaughtered except for major festivals. Cow dung is not only an excellent organic fertilizer, but is also mixed with red mud to plaster the walls of traditional houses. The herd serves as a perfect reserve fund. When facing financial pressure to pay tuition or medical expenses, they simply sell a cow to mitigate the risks in an uncertain economic climate. Beyond material possessions, cows are sacred spiritual messengers connecting people with their ancestors. People often compose poems praising livestock, called Amazina Yinka, to perform and pray for fertility. Each cow is given a name with auspicious meaning. When a cow dies of old age, the family is deeply saddened and carefully buried. In the engagement ceremony, gifting a cow is the most noble ritual to unite the two families, and people often use heated knives to carve family crests onto the curved horns to preserve the family's legacy for generations to come. Number 10. The mystery of healing through spirituality. In this African nation, every aspect of life is closely tied to one's roots. Illness is not simply explained by Western medicine, but is often seen as a message from the spiritual world. Local people believe that sickness is a way for ancestors to remind their descendants to correct their lifestyles. Physical health directly reflects the balance in social relationships and the respect for the deceased. Whenever someone falls ill, the first question asked is whether the family has made any mistakes. These mistakes may stem from internal conflicts or neglect of traditional rituals. They firmly believe that their ancestors are not causing harm, but are merely reminding their descendants to return to the path of moral conduct. The healing process begins with a large family gathering to reconcile any conflicts and offer incense as a sign of apology. The village elders often perform rituals such as burning dry grass to ward off evil spirits or pouring banana blossoms on the ground to invoke blessings. Only after completing these spiritual steps are patients taken to medical facilities. This philosophy of life helps the indigenous people maintain an optimistic attitude in the face of adversity. They embrace illness not as a tragedy, but as a precious opportunity to mend family relationships and live in greater harmony with the world around them. Number 11. Burundi cuisine. Burundi's cuisine is a vivid reflection of the country's economic landscape. The dishes here are prepared with the core purpose of providing enough energy for laborers, rather than focusing on elaborate flavors. Daily menus mainly revolve around root vegetables and grains. The most popular choice is ugali, a dough made from cassava or corn flour. People usually eat ugali with beans and boiled wild vegetables. This is the cheapest way to fill a stomach for most households, as a simple meal costs less than $50. Meat is extremely expensive. To buy a kilogram of beef or goat meat, a worker would have to spend the wages of many days' work. Therefore, they only eat meat on special occasions like festivals or weddings. When an animal is slaughtered, the entire village shares the meat, turning it into a rare feast. During the rainy season, grasshoppers and termites become the perfect alternative source of protein. Locals catch insects and deep fry them in oil and salt to create a cheap snack. Western visitors are often surprised to see them sold in abundance in the markets, but for the locals, this is a readily available natural delicacy. Another traditional dish is finely chopped cassava leaves simmered with crushed roasted peanuts. This dark green mixture is very high in calories and is often eaten with rice or ugali. Their most characteristic drink is handcrafted Urwaga banana beer. People often share a large jug with reed straws to strengthen community bonds. Although urban areas sell fried fish from Lake Tanganyika or grilled goat meat, the prices far exceed the average income. Ultimately, the majority of the population still sustains their lives on simple, homegrown produce. Number 12. Unique festivals. Burundi still maintains numerous folk festivals closely linked to its agricultural rhythm and religious beliefs. The most prominent is the harvest festival called Umuganuro. This event was once a sacred royal ceremony before the fall of the monarchy in 1966. Immediately after the sorghum harvest, people gather in the fields to prepare food. Men take on the role of drumming the ingoma, while women grind grain, and children dance to welcome the new season. July 1st each year is a major event commemorating the nation's liberation from Belgian rule in 1962. Cities hold parades and drumming festivities. People enthusiastically dress in costumes representing the three colors of the Belgian flag: red, white, and green. Despite modest finances, families always try to set aside a small amount to celebrate. In the villages, the Koga festival brings a lively atmosphere through wrestling matches and dancing. The reward for the winner is merely respect from the village, but it demonstrates a wonderful spirit of chivalry. Each wedding here is like a mini festival. The hosts prepare food and banana beer to entertain distant relatives. Women dress in vibrant fabrics while men wear white shirts and join in the rhythm of the drums. With 65% of the population being Christian, Christmas and Easter are incredibly important spiritual moments. They often gather in church or under large trees to sing hymns. These events are clear evidence of the strength of unity and the effort to preserve their roots amidst numerous economic challenges. Number 13. Discover the hidden natural wonders of Burundi. Spanning 400 square kilometers, Kibera is Burundi's pristine green roof, home to over 200 species of birds. This forest, which connects to the Nyungwe Reserve in neighboring Rwanda, is shrouded in mist year-round, creating a mystical beauty. Locals believe the ancient mahogany trees are the dwelling places of their ancestors, so all noise is strictly forbidden. Even ranger patrols must be conducted in silence. The Mukungu complex boasts massive, fractured rock formations arranged in perfectly straight lines. Despite thousands of years of weathering, the cracks remain sharp and maintain parallel spacing. This phenomenon is a great mystery, as it completely contradicts the typical tectonic faulting patterns of the Rift Valley. The locals believe the rocks were broken by an ancient wrath of their ancestors, creating an incredibly wild and surreal landscape. Lake Tanganyika is 673 kilometers long and contains 19,000 cubic kilometers of water, equivalent to 16% of the world's unfrozen surface freshwater. Its 12-million-year history has allowed it to form a self-contained ecosystem with 350 endemic species of cichlid fish. The lakebed is considered the dwelling place of the water god, and this biodiversity also makes Tanganyika an invaluable natural evolutionary laboratory on the world map. Number 14. The world's strangest naming culture. The naming culture in Burundi is incredibly complex, with each person possessing two identities simultaneously. They use a public name for society and a secret name for spiritual connection. When a child is born, the family holds a private meeting to choose a community name, Izina Ri'ibarabara, literally meaning street name, and a spiritual name, Izina Mutima, understood as heart name. The second name is absolutely forbidden to be spoken aloud. According to ancient beliefs, people believe that the syllables of the name contain magical power, and knowing the true identity would allow evil to manipulate the victim's life. The public name usually carries a positive message, such as the common name Ndikumana, meaning I am with God. Conversely, the heart name is like a miniature family tree. Reusing the names of ancestors, especially respected elders, helps protect the child's soul. When someone falls seriously ill, the healer will whisper a secret name to implore their ancestors for healing. Many people have to wait until they officially get married before the head of the clan reveals their second name. This dual identity system transforms each individual into two parallel entities, existing between the physical world and the invisible realm. This philosophy helps them protect their souls from the intermingling of modern cultures and maintain a sacred connection to the past. Number 15. Cost of living. The cost of living in Burundi is burdened by meager incomes and scarcity of goods. Statistics from 2024 show that the average income was only about $950 per year, or less than $80 a month. This figure is even lower in rural areas where people live on a subsistence basis. In the economic center of Bujumbura, the cost of services is unimaginably high. A plate of fried fish on the street costs around $5. A budget hotel room costs $40 a night, while $8 hostels near the border completely lack electricity and running water. Fuel is the biggest concern. A liter of gasoline costs $10 and is ready to double during times of scarcity. Long queues at gas stations are commonplace, making car ownership unthinkable, and people mostly travel by bicycle or on foot. The prices of essential goods are also sky high. A kilogram of rice costs over $1, and cooking oil costs nearly $3. This is a huge burden, as many workers only earn around $7 a week, making eating out a luxury. The electricity grid is extremely weak, with only 11% of the population having access. Frequent power outages force people to spend extra money on firewood or batteries to maintain their daily lives. Foreign tourists also face many difficulties when making transactions. One Japanese tourist was once charged 20,000 francs for a 2-kilometer taxi ride before someone else offered a lower price. Scams involving change and persistent begging are rampant in the markets. Overall, although prices aren't excessively high compared to the rest of the world, the lack of infrastructure and economic instability have turned life here into a real test of survival. If you found today's exploration journey truly helpful, please hit the like button, share the video, and subscribe to the channel. Don't forget to turn on notifications so you don't miss any exciting adventures coming soon. See you soon!